Hi, this is Mahesh Ravi, and in this video, we're going to take a look at how to better your layouts in graphic design, how to work with efficient compositions when it comes to arranging your elements in your design space. So we're going to take a look at how we can do that by rightly applying the composition elements. So let's take a look at that. So composition is basically the most efficient arrangement of elements, visual communication elements in your design space to communicate the idea. So the effectiveness of that particular communication will depend on how effectively you are configuring your layout. So that's why layout is the most important discipline which comes under graphic design. So let's get started with it. So we're going to use the composition element, and let's take a look at what are those composition elements. So the first one is form. Form actually means the shape of an element that you're using, the scale, the size of an object that you're using in your design, the colors of an object, spacing of an object, value of an object, orientation of that object, and the texture of an object. So by bringing or by looking at all these composition elements, we are going to work on a design and make it better. I'm going to use Photoshop for this exercise. Let's jump into Photoshop and create a new file. So I'm going to create a new file, and let's create an A4 document right here. So let's go with A4 and click create, and we have a document right here. So we have these principles that we spoke about, which is form, scale, color, texture. We'll just copy that and keep it next to so this is basically what we are going to work on. So we have the form, scale, color, space, value, orientation, and texture. So what we're going to do is we're going to build our content. So I'm just going to take a rough, very basic content here. All right, so currently we have the content. So what I've done here is I have separated each of the message into a different layer of type. And then I've used only one typeface and one font weight to actually write all of this down. We're going to work on this individually based on the composition elements that we discussed about. So I just arranged it in a very simple document with one typeface. This is what we have currently, and we are going to start working on this one by one. So the first thing, let's start looking at the form. So the form here is basically the shape that we are going to use in these typefaces. We only have the typeface right here. So we're going to look only at the forms. That is there any kind of form that we actually need here. So what I'm going to do is and we can try and see. Changing typeface is the easiest way to actually create a form difference here. So we have a different typeface here, which is saying dialogues in design, something maybe in this date sector. So I'm just going to come here and I'm going to use the alpha and bold for the date and the time. I have those two in here. So I currently have three forms here. One is for this, one is for the title, and one is for the date information. So I've done with the form of the typeface. And we are only looking at the form of typefaces right now. I'm not bringing in a shape. I'm not bringing in an image or anything like that. I'm just working on the form here of the typeface alone. So it is easy for you to understand right now. So I'm just playing with the forms. I have created the form. The next thing that we have to work on is the scale. So scale basically means the size of these, the elements that you have. So I'm going to just play with the scale right now. To get more hierarchy here, to make the hierarchy more evident, I might have to increase the size of this. I'm going to just go here and scale it up so that this is clear. So I'm going to just play with the scale. Okay. Right. So I have something like this. So again, I'm going to go to the Clubhouse and the Western Academy title, the sub title, and I'm going to reduce the size here a bit. So I'm going to scale it down and I will bring it down right here. So we are done with the scaling. I think the rest of the scale works. So I've created that hierarchy when we started to work with the scales. The first thing was choosing the form, the shape of the typefaces. Second thing that we did was to control the scale, the sizes of the typefaces. So I'm not creating too many scale variants. I just have two or maximum three. One scale for this and this is sharing the same scale value, and then this has a slightly smaller scale value. So there are three scales. And I'm going to go to the color. Where can we actually introduce a color here? So we're going to look at this and we're going to say that, okay, we can basically, so what I'm going to do is, we're talking about the typography here. I'm just trying to bring a color to this. So I am bringing a color here and it looks pretty decent. I can actually take that value and maybe bring in some color here as well. So I've created the color value here as well. The rest is using the black color. So we have three colors in our design right now: the white, blacks, and this faded red currently. So we are only looking at the typefaces right now. And let's think about the space. So that's the next thing that we are going to work on. Space is basically the breathing space between these elements that we have. And we're going to arrange it in a way that the elements are having enough space. It's not uncomfortable to look at this composition, and the user's eye can navigate easily in this design. So that's what we're going to do in the text. So this basically means that we can even control the spacing between the characters. So this is a very tight arrangement of these letters, and this is a very loose arrangement of text. We need to find a sweet spot where a readability and aesthetic match. Okay, so this is interesting where at times it is actually merging or interacting with the other characters as well, but that is working in this scenario. So we have it. We will actually keep it somewhere here. The conversation. So we can basically put it right here on this side. So it is starting with that text element. We have these two elements here, the date and time. So we're going to find a good spacing for that. So we can keep it in that flow itself. So we will align it to that center line here. We will bring it somewhat here. So these two elements are there. And then the text, which is the bottom text, which is aligned like this. So there is a lot of space in here. Then the spacing works really well in this. Now the next element that we are going to work on is the value. So value, as we were discussing earlier, is the intensity of an element. So let's take a look at what we can actually play around with the value. Could be this 7. It doesn't have to be as intense as the date, the time. So the easiest way to actually adjust the value is by modifying the transparency of that particular element. So I can just come here and reduce the transparency a little bit so that it's not that evident. So I can bring in that value difference right here. Okay, so I have played around with the value here. The date is more important than the time, and the place is more important than the channel here. So I've created or used value also effectively here. Now, the orientation is the direction that elements are facing, and it actually means a lot, right? So you can actually place an element horizontally, diagonally, or vertically in a design, and that means different things. So let's take a look at that as well, how we can actually apply orientation in your design. So I'm going to take this, and this is just a try. I'm going to orient it in a different way. So I'm just going to do it like this. I'm just going to make it a little bigger. So here I'm just playing with the scale once again, and I'm going to sort of diagonally put this thing here. So now the orientation is not straight, it is sort of bleeding in that out. So there is a little bit of open-ended composition that I've created here, where the whole thing is actually going in this way, and I can sort of create a layout based on this orientation. I can actually arrange all these things here. So for the time being, I'm moving this here. I'll bring the conversation point. Maybe it is going to start from here, it comes in to this, so I'll just move it somewhere here. The date and time I can, and Clubhouse and Wisdom's Academy, I can move it to the corner right here. So now it's creating a very interesting yeah, there is a very diagonal layout which is happening here. So with the orientation of the text and the way that I have arranged this. So this is how orientation can actually bring a difference into your design. And the final one is texture. So If I want to bring in photocopier, and I'm going to just click mask it so that we have that effect happening on the text. And I'm just going to take the blending mode. I'm going to change the blending mode of this somewhat like. So we now have a very interesting texture on our main text here. We have, a very interesting composition that we have set based on the compositional parameters. And that's a very interesting way to create a design discipline. Or when you're starting with layouts, it's a very interesting way to think about it.